The biggest threat to your wealth isn't a stock market crash, and it isn't even the inflation numbers you see on the evening news. It's something far more fundamental and far more terrifying.
It's the fact that real money, the kind that actually settles debts and anchors the global economy, is quietly vanishing from the system. While you're distracted by the price of eggs or the latest crypto rally, the very plumbing of the world is running dry. And when the pipes go empty, the entire house of cards comes down. Most people think they understand money. They think it's the green paper in their wallet or the digits on their banking app. They think the Federal Reserve prints money, and that's why prices go up. But that is a surface-level narrative designed for people who still believe the economy is a series of simple trades. The truth is much darker. We have replaced real money with ghost money, a complex web of offshore credits and re-hypothecated collateral that works perfectly, right up until it doesn't. And right now, the ghosts are disappearing. To understand why real money is dying, we have to rewind to 1971. Everyone knows this date as the year Nixon took us off the gold standard. But that's only half the story. When we severed the link to gold, we didn't just move to a fiat system. We moved to a collateral system. In this new world, money wasn't backed by shiny rocks in a vault. It was backed by debt, specifically US Treasuries. In the global financial system, the US Treasury bond is the real money. It is the pristine collateral that every bank in the world uses to borrow, lend, and create credit. If you're a bank in London or Tokyo and you need $100 million to settle a trade, you don't show up with a suitcase of cash. You show up with a treasury bond. It's the world's ultimate pawn shop ticket. But here's the thing about pawn shops. They only work if the tickets are good. For 40 years, this system, often called the Eurodollar system, was the secret engine of global prosperity. It was a massive, unregulated offshore market where banks created dollars out of thin air by swapping collateral. It was like the world was running on a giant, invisible Wi-Fi signal of liquidity. As long as the signal was strong, the economy grew. We lived in a world of ghost money. And for a while, the ghosts were very friendly. But in 2008, the Wi-Fi cut out. The Great Financial Crisis wasn't just about bad mortgages. It was a collateral heart attack. Suddenly, the banks realized that the collateral they were using, those mortgage-backed securities, wasn't real money. It was garbage. The pawn shops closed their doors. The ghost money evaporated overnight. And the only reason the system didn't stay dead was because the Federal Reserve stepped in and started a process called quantitative easing. But here is where the lie begins. The Fed didn't print money. They performed a swap. They took the bad collateral off the bank's balance sheets and gave them bank reserves. But bank reserves aren't real money either. They are a closed-loop accounting entry that stays inside the Fed's computer. You can't buy groceries with bank reserves. You can't use them to start a business in Singapore. The Fed was trying to fix a plumbing problem by pouring water on the outside of the pipes. And now, we are entering the final stage of this decay. We are in the collateral squeeze. For years, the US government has been running trillion-dollar deficits, which means they have to issue massive amounts of new debt, new treasury bonds. You would think this means there is more real money in the system, but the opposite is happening. Because the system is so addicted to debt, the velocity of that collateral has collapsed. In a healthy system, one treasury bond might be used 10 times over to back 10 different loans. It's called Re-hypothecation. It's the ultimate financial magic trick. One bond becomes 10 ghost dollars. But as the world gets riskier, banks are getting scared. They don't want to lend their collateral anymore. They want to hoard it. The multiplier is breaking. The ghosts are being called back to the graveyard. But it gets even weirder. Because while the real money, collateral, is disappearing, the fake money, currency, is exploding. This is why you see the dissonance in the markets. You see the S&P 500 hitting all-time highs, while the actual economy feels like it's in a dumpster fire. It's because the currency is being devalued at the same time the plumbing is freezing. It's like being on a ship where the engine has stopped, but the crew is still printing more and more tickets for the buffet. The tickets look like wealth. They won't get you to the shore. Think about the repo market. This is the dark, windowless room where the world's banks trade collateral every single night just to keep the lights on. It's a $4 trillion a day market that you've probably never heard of. In 2019, the repo market suddenly spiked. Interest rates went from 2% to 10% in a few hours. Why? Because there wasn't enough real money to go around. The banks looked at each other and said, I don't trust your collateral, and I'm keeping mine. The Fed had to rush in and dump billions into the system to stop a total collapse. That wasn't a one-time glitch. That was a warning shot. It was the system screaming that it had run out of real money. And now, in 2025 and 2026, we are hitting the wall. The US government is now spending more on interest payments than on its own military. To pay that interest, they have to issue even more debt. But the world is tired of buying it. China is selling. Japan is selling. The price-insensitive buyers are gone. This creates the death spiral. To keep the system from collapsing, the Fed will be forced to buy the debt themselves. But when the Fed buys the debt, they take the real money, the bonds, out of the private system and replace it with more ghost money, reserves. They are literally sucking the oxygen out of the room to keep the fire burning. The result is a world where real money is replaced by political money. In a world of real money, prices are set by supply and demand. In a world of ghost money, prices are set by whoever has the closest relationship with the central bank. It's the Cantillon effect on steroids. If you're a giant hedge fund, you get the fresh liquidity. If you're a guy trying to buy a house in Ohio, you get the inflation. This is why traditional financial media is obsessed with interest rate cuts. They think the cost of money is the problem, but it's not the cost, it's the quality. You can cut interest rates to zero, but if there is no pristine collateral to back the loans, the engine won't start. You're just pushing on a string. So why does this matter to you? Because we're heading toward a reset that no one is bracing for. When the system finally runs out of real money, it won't just be a correction. It will be a transition to a new type of money. This is why every central bank in the world is suddenly racing to build CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. They know the Eurodollar system is dying. They know the ghosts are disappearing. CBDCs are their attempt to build a new set of pipes that they control entirely. In the new system, there is no real money. There is only permission money. It is the ultimate evolution of the ghost. The disappearance of real money is the disappearance of your financial autonomy. If you can't hold an asset that isn't someone else's liability, you don't own anything. You're just a tenant in a financial system owned by the state. This is why gold is hitting all-time highs. This is why people are fleeing into hard assets. It's not because they're gold bugs or doomers. It's because they're the only ones who can see the Wi-Fi signal fading. They realize that the safe 60-40 portfolio is actually a bet on a ghost that is currently being exercised. The narrative you're being sold is that the economy is resilient. They point to jobs data and consumer spending, but those are lagging indicators. They are the afterimage of a flashbang. The flash happened in the repo market, and the collateral chains? The sound is just now reaching you. We are living through the death of the collateralized dollar. It's a slow, grinding process that looks like sticky inflation on the surface, but is actually systemic liquidation underneath. The real money is leaving the building. And as it leaves, it's being replaced by more debt, more surveillance, and more complexity. The system is trying to outrun its own math. But the math of a collateral shortage is relentless. You can't print a treasury bond. You can only borrow it into existence. And we have reached the limit of what we can borrow without destroying the very value of what we're borrowing. It's the ultimate paradox. To save the dollar, they have to destroy the dollar. To save the system, they have to kill the real money. So, leave your take in the comments. Are you still betting on the ghost? Or are you looking for something you can actually touch? Because the next few years aren't going to be about who has the most money on their screen. They're going to be about who has the real assets when the screen goes dark. The answer isn't in Washington, and it isn't in the Fed's press conferences. It's in the plumbing. And right now, the pipes are rattling. Keep your eyes on the collateral. Everything else, it's just noise.
Mainstream media sells stories. Hudson Invests reveals the math. If you want to see the plumbing behind the narrative before the system breaks, hit subscribe and turn on notifications.
Like this video to stay ahead of the crowd, and leave your take in the comments below. Stay sharp. I'll see you in the next one.